Hey friend, I'm Amy Schaefer and I am so glad you're here with me today. I am a SEINT artist and today I'm just going to go over the very basics of 3D foundation. Okay, so with the colors that you should have got color matched with, I always recommend a brush, and the one that I typically recommend 99% of the time is just our 3D brush. It's going to look a little different. This is our old version, so the color right here will be a little different than the one that you get. So the reason why I recommend this brush is because it's the most versatile brush. It was the very first one that came out, and I still feel like it's the best option if you only want one brush. This is going to give you the most bang for your buck. And I'm going to do all of my makeup today using just this brush. So if you have the collection, you'll have these two things. If you don't, you would have had compact credit. So basically, the more money you put towards your cart, you'll get credit off for getting a compact like this. So our compacts are magnetic. When you open them up, there's going to be a mirror up top, and then there is going to be this magnetic pad right here where the colors are just going to fit in. So I'll show you how to do that right now. I have put my tins in, the colors that I will be using for my face today. This one right here is the contour, this is the brightening highlight, and then this is the main shade or the main highlight. This spot right here is where I'm going to put my blush in, and I always recommend a blush with the 3D foundation because blush is what gives us life. It gives us color. When you have blood flowing through your veins, you have color. When you don't, you look dead. So that's why I always recommend putting a blush along with your 3D foundation. But when you get your colors, they're going to come in this little tin, and you just slide it right out like that. I'm using candy for my lip and cheek today, which I'll go in more details in a second, but you're just going to slide that right out, and you are literally just going to pop it in, and it's magnetic. So all of the colors pop in super nicely. Do not get rid of all of your tins because these things are awesome when you're changing colors. Obviously, I don't have nails, so when I go in to try to get my colors out of my compact, sometimes my finger will dip into the makeup. So these are made, they have this little like shelf at the end of them. I don't know if you can see it with this camera, but you are just going to slide like that. And then you pull back and the color comes beautifully out and then slides, and you can just take it out like that. So like, don't throw these away. They are going to help you so much when you're transitioning or changing colors, or if you run out and you have to put a new one in. Okay, so now we have all of our colors in our compact and we are good to go. I'm going to show you placement first. So I'm not going to blend right away. I'm just going to place the colors where they go, and then we'll blend at the end. This is just a really good way. You don't have to do this every time you get ready. I just want to say that. You can blend as you go, but I like to do it for my tutorials just so people can really see where they are supposed to put each product, because I feel like that's the biggest question. People are like, where do I put the contour? Where do I put the brightener? This is going to help you visualize, kind of like a color by number, where to put each product, and then blending at the end is super easy. Okay, so I always start with my contour, and I'm going to use this end of the 3D brush, and I like to think of my contour as 4 different lines. So if you followed me before, this is probably drilled into your head because I think this is the easiest way to remember it. So 4 lines. So the first one, I'm just going to pat my brush in. Contours are a little bit more dry than highlights, so you can put a little bit more pressure when putting your brush in them. Highlights, no. You do not want to do that. They are so buttery that it's going to pick up way too much product. But with contours, you can put a little bit more pressure in. My first line is just going to be straight across my forehead. So I'm going to go 1 for my first line, leaving it on there, not blending yet. And then my second line, my second and third line, I'm going to tap my brush in sideways like this, just so it's on half of the brush. And I'm going to find my cheekbone right here. So if most of us have this natural shadow for our cheekbone, if you feel like you don't, you can always use the reference of going from right here to your lip, so this line right here, and you want to put the contour on, not below that line, on slightly above the line, and that is going to be our second line. So just like that. I'm just going to do the same thing, tap my brush in, and I'm going to find that line. You don't want to go super far. I like to kind of stop, because naturally our shadow stops right here, right? Which is right about where our eye is. So you want to stop right there and then follow the line straight down to your chin. And straight in again like I did that first one. And the fourth line, I'm going to draw a line from behind my earlobe right here all the way to the other one. And I'm gonna go under my jaw, not on it, under it. And then I'm gonna take it back and go back. If you feel like you kind of have a little bit of like puffiness right here or jaws, you can lightly just slightly run your brush along those, and that's just gonna create a shadow and really just kind of sculpt your jawline out a little bit more. I will not be doing nose contouring in this video. It is one of my favorite things to do, but I feel like for basics, it's not something that you really need to worry about right away. So for my second color, I flip my brush around to this more like cone shape side, and I'm just gonna go into my brightening highlight. So this is gonna be the lightest shade that you will get. I'm going to do a tree down my nose. So I do in between my eyebrows, down my nose like that. There's two different ways. People have kind of transitioned into not doing the check mark. This is how I always used to teach it. So then I always do a check mark under your eye and up like this. I think it's easy. I honestly still like the way this looks, and I feel like makeup is constantly changing, but this is something that I still think looks good. Just doing a Nike check mark. Or if you do have some very dark color right here, sometimes putting brightening highlight on your face over that color can kind of pull it out a little bit more. So what people like to do is just put a dot right here and then skip that middle section, all of that, and we're just going to go right here at the other corner of our eye, the outer corner, and we're just gonna pull up. So you can either do a check mark if that's easiest for you and you like the way that looks, or you can go ahead and experiment and just do a dot on the inside and a line on the outside. Some people do like to put their highlight on their lip, on their cupid's bow, kind of pulls it out a little bit. And this is the area that we really just want to pop. So with the contour, we're sculpting, we're molding, we're minimizing. With the brightener, we're going in and we're making it pop. So everywhere else, I'm just going to put my main shade. Really the most important reason of why you need to be color matched, just because everyone's skin is so different. Some people are warm toned, cool toned. There's a lot that goes into it. So that's why we have artists to color match you. If you need color matched, there is a link underneath this video, and there's a color match form that you can go on and send me your photo. It'll walk you through how to do it. So I have my main shade on my brush, and I'm just gonna fill in everywhere that my brightener and my contour are not. So underneath these lines, I have some, and a little goes a long way with this product. It's very pigmented. I'm gonna go on my chin. So on this side I did the check mark, so there's not a whole lot to put on this side, but I'm just gonna fill in right there. And then on this side, so I'm gonna show you kind of the difference between the two sides too. So on this side, I'm gonna go right underneath my eye, right there. Always gotta make sure I get my nose. And then up top, between the contour and the brightener. And then I put my main shade on my lids. You can also put your brightening shade on your lids if you would like, and that's gonna kind of pull them out. So that is literally where we put everything. I always recommend blending before you put your blush on, just because our blushes are so pigmented, which is awesome because then they last so long. But the problem with blending with your blush is if you blend and you hit your blush and then you're blending everywhere else, sometimes you can smear the colors, and we don't want that. So I always recommend blending before you even go in to put your blush on. So for blending, I always use this end of the 3D brush. It's the same end that we use the contour on. And you are just going to stipple. So stippling means you are not swiping to blend, you are pressing it into your skin just like this. So we have the makeup exactly where we want it to be. We don't really want to move it around and go crazy. We want to just set it. We want it to stick on our skin and look like a second skin. I always start with the brightest color. So I'm just going to start where I put those brightening, that brightening color. And I'm just going to stipple it on like so, press it in, on down around my eye, up here, down here, just really pressing it in to the skin. And it's really nice because as the day goes on, this makeup really just kind of melts into your skin. It really becomes a second skin. It smooths over wrinkles really nicely. It doesn't creep into them and sink into them. So it is great for mature skin, young skin. It's gonna keep your skin very hydrated. All right. So just setting that. And then when we get to our contour, remember I said our contours are a lot drier. They are not as smooth and buttery as our highlights. So with our contour, you do have to press in a little bit more to blend. So let's start with our forehead up here. We really want to make sure that we are pressing, and I do swipe back a little bit for my contour into my hairline because we don't want a white spot and then contour. We want it to look natural, like our own skin, right? We want it to look like we're not wearing makeup, but we are wearing makeup. We want it to look like our own skin. Okay, and then in between here, you can lightly swipe, just like very lightly, or some people like to just do like a little circle lightly, but that's just really gonna blend the contour in with your highlight. Your cheekbones, I'm gonna hold off, and I like to blend once I have my blush on. So for our chin, I am just going to swipe it, make sure that there's nothing back there, and also right here. And then for my neck, I always go in with a little bit more contour because we don't want floating head syndrome, because obviously the contour is a little bit darker than our natural skin. So we're going from like a darkness to a lightness. So I always blend the contour down my neck and blend it wherever it needs to go. You can also use bronzer for this if you like bronzer. We have a great bronzer. But for basics today, we're just doing the contour. Then we don't have floating head syndrome. And that's that. This is Candy. This is a glossy lip and cheek, and we call them lip and cheeks because they double as lipstick and blush. Crazy, I know. The name speaks for itself. Brilliant name, right? Okay. But anyway, for our blush, some people like to do, and I'll show you both ways, okay? Some people like to start at the apple of their cheeks and then just kind of like lightly blend it up. Some people like to start a little bit further away from the apples of the cheeks and then just go right up that contour line. So on this side, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna go all the way to the apples of my cheek. I'm just gonna go up that contour line. I'm gonna place it on there first. And then this side, I'm gonna smile and I'm gonna put it on the apple of my cheek. And then I'm gonna go up. As you blend, you are just going again to press it into your skin and blend up the contour. And then I kind of turn my brush to the side and blend the contour. You want to push up. So you don't want to pull your contour down when you blend. You really want to blend up. So on this side, it's going to be the same thing. We just didn't start on the apple of our cheek. We started a little bit further on. And then for the contour, you are going to, I kind of flick my brush up, but you are just going to blend up. So that's the difference. You got this side and then this side. I really like both of them. Either way is fine. Whatever. And then the last thing, I just use my finger. We have a brush you can do this with. I never use the brush. I always just use my finger. And then I just put on my lip and cheek. What's nice about this product too is that it's so convenient, so I can carry this in my little satchel. Like I have a tiny satchel and this fits right in there with the brush. So if you need touch-ups throughout the day, it's really easy to just go in and touch up. And then for lip and cheeks, we do have matte finish ones too. So this is a gloss. You can see it's more shimmery, right? It's not dry finish. So if you do like that dry matte finish, we do have blushes. These ones I feel like are more pigmented and they do stay on your lips better. This is Baby Watermelon. This one's very similar. I think it's a little bit lighter than grapefruit, pink grapefruit. Pink grapefruit is one of my absolute favorites and it's one in the collection. I could not find mine today. I was gonna use that, but it is beautiful. And they are very pigmented with our blushes. You just have to wait a couple minutes and they do tone down. So you can see that mine have already toned down a little bit. So it's going to appear super pigmented when you first put it on, but just give it a second. This is our beauty blender. It is called the Perfector Sponge through SEINT, and I recommend this to pretty much everyone as well, just to really pick up any excess product, but it's not going to pick up so much that it's pulling your makeup away. It's just gonna kind of give it that airbrush finish. The biggest part is that you prepare the sponge correctly. So you really want to make sure that it is moist, not dry and not wet. So what I do is I run it under water and I squeeze it until there's nothing left to squeeze out, and then I squeeze it in a towel, and then I even let it sit out and dry while I'm putting the rest of my makeup on. And then you can spray your setting spray on first. Oh, mine is like all over the place. And then you can go in once your setting spray is on there, and that kind of helps the setting spray set. And also it's gonna give that airbrush finish. So that's really good. If you don't like that dewy look and you like more of a matte finish, we do have a setting powder. It's called Vanilla Dust. It is not gonna be like a loose one that you would use for baking. It is very, very fine. If you do like baking, I recommend getting a looser powder. If you don't know what baking is, don't worry about it. But that is it. I probably recommended some eyeshadows, maybe bronzer. I kind of always put out all my recommendations, set up your cart for you. That way you have everything in your cart, and then you can go into your cart and you can add certain things, like say, oh, I don't like the blush color she recommended. I kind of want to go with this one. You can by all means take out the one that I recommended and put your own in, or maybe you want more than one blush color, or maybe you want to add a bunch of eyeshadows, or maybe you want the eyebrow wax. We have so many different products on there. I like to recommend the very basics and then a few other of my favorites, but by all means, you do not have to get all of them. So if you are not feeling it, feel free to take away anything that you don't want. And if you want to go all in, feel free to put in as much as you want. That is totally okay. So this is the finished look. What I love about this product, other than all of the things I've already said about it, is that it really just becomes like a second skin throughout the day. So the longer you wear it, I honestly feel like the better it looks. And then it really just accents and highlights our natural features that we have already been given. We are all created beautiful, and the last thing that we want to do is just go in and completely cover it up. So that is one thing I love about this makeup, is I still look like myself wearing it. I don't look like a completely different person. But I'm so glad you took the time today to come and hang out with me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. God bless you.